We're going to talk now to Michael Brewers. He's Professor of Western European History at Oxford University, the author of several books on revolutionary and Napoleonic Europe. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. How do you think, then, this anniversary should be marked today? Is it for you a celebration or a commemoration?
Oh, I think it's very much a commemoration. I don't think a professional historian could really go in for celebration. It's all too complicated for that.
Why? I mean, I mentioned that phrase, warmonger really and reintroducing slavery.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are facts. You have to confront them. He was a warmonger, but so were most of the other European powers. I think only on one occasion did he enter into a war where he wasn't actually attacked himself, but he was certainly a player in the game in all those wars. I don't think we can dispute that fact, but he wasn't alone. The reintroduction of slavery was something that he himself said he was bounced into by mainly by the commercial and banking interests in France itself. He certainly regretted the way he handled the slave revolt in Haiti. He wasn't a racist. And indeed, if you look back to the French Revolution, it was something a great many of the revolutionaries who abolished slavery regretted because they were the first in the field. So I think you have to take a nuanced view of that. It happened. He regretted it, but he did do it. There's no doubt about that. But I think when you look at the plus side of the commemoration, he gave us the European public sphere we have.
Tell us a bit more about that. I mean, what kind of things did he give us, do you think?
Some of it is so ubiquitous and so normal for most continental Europeans, they forget about it. Most European legal systems outside the British Isles, it must be said, follow the template that was laid down under Napoleonic rule. The Code Napoleon itself for civil law, even more important for me, the Code of Procedure, the way trials are carried out in most European countries and indeed elsewhere in the world, was created under this regime. The administrative system, the institution of prefects, the departmental system created by the revolution that he refined and honed, the system of education, as you said yourself at the beginning, a secular system by public examination, the lycée, the gymnasium, the liceo in Italy, open to all. All these things we owe to him. He was also, I think it's interesting in the current context of the world to say, he was a great proponent of inoculation. He really pushed vaccination against smallpox and other known diseases right throughout Europe. It was mandatory in the French army.
So bearing all that in mind and bearing in mind what you said as well about him regretting the slavery issue, why do you think we can't celebrate him?
Well, you come back to the warmongering on the one hand. He was certainly a big part of that, the major part of it. And there were other things. The other side of Napoleonic rule, of all the positives that we've talked about, was it was very authoritarian. People were fed up with parliamentary government and with democracy by the end of the 1790s in France. And he seized on that. And he created a very top-down authoritarian regime, very tight censorship in the press. I very much doubt that you or I would be sitting here talking about this if we were a Napoleonic regime. And that is a big legacy he's left, particularly in French public life. You know, this fear of the man on horseback, this specter of the military dictator. It was taken up in Latin America. It still haunts a lot of politics. We just had something about Spain in there. They live in the shadow of that kind of modern military dictatorship, of which he was in many ways the progenitor.
Great to talk to you today on the programme. Thanks very much for joining us. That's Michael Brewers, who's Professor of Western European History at Oxford University. Thanks very much.